is your brand? And is worrying with your brand going to increase your sales? And what actually takes your marketing onto someplace like Instagram or emails and turns it into sales? Today we're going to talk about the difference between branding, marketing, and sales as it's related to your small business, and really talk about where you should be spending your time and energy once you know what those things are. Welcome to Explore Your Enthusiasm, episode 219 with me, Swiger. You can find the links to everything that I talk about, including all of the notes that I took preparing for this, over on the podcast show notes page, which is taraswiger.com/podcast 219. So a few weeks ago, we talked about increasing sales through marketing. Specifically, I was answering somebody's question on Instagram and how she was marketing on Instagram. That's episode 217, if you want to go back and listen. It's just 2 episodes ago. And then I was talking with a captain in the Starship about being sure they're spending time on sales and not just marketing or branding. And it got me thinking, there's a really important difference between branding, marketing, and sales. And we don't talk about it a lot. And a lot of us are confused about where we should spend our time and energy. We get all hung up on creating a logo or creating the right color scheme for our website as opposed to selling our product. So in a big business, these are very clearly defined roles and often with our own departments that have different people working in each department. Different people care about branding and different people care about marketing and different people care about sales. But in your small business, you're doing it all. If you have help, usually you've hired someone. Often you'll hire somebody to help you with your branding, but then you have to do the ongoing communicating of that branding via your marketing. And you have to do your sales unless you hire somebody like a sales rep. And in different businesses and in different kinds of, if you're selling different things, these different areas have different importance for you. Some businesses need to spend more time and energy on branding. Others need to spend more time and energy on marketing or sales. So we're going to talk about what each of the three are and when you want to spend a lot of time on them. And then I'll also talk about the big confusion I see people have and how to fix it, where to focus your time and energy. So let's get started by talking about branding. Branding is the vibe of your business. Your brand answers the question, how do people think about your business? How does your business make people feel? That is your brand. That kind of intangible, oh, you know it when you see it, that's your brand. When people see something, they know it's yours. Your Instagram post, your video, your product, your book. When they see it, they know it's yours because of your branding. It's the visuals, it's the tone of voice, it's the kind of media you use. Are you on video? Are you on audio? Are you just posting pictures on Instagram? And it's how you show up, the energy you bring when you show up. This is super important in a business that sells a commodity. I want you to listen to that carefully. If you sell a commodity, a thing that is the exact same product in many different businesses, then your branding is what sets you apart from everybody else. So for example, a comic book shop sells the exact same comics and even uses the same distributors, so they pay the exact same price as every other comic book shop. They might be a slightly different in the mix, but they're the same comics. So the branding is extremely important to help it stand out from all the other shops, right? Because comic books in this case are the commodity. If you are a grocery store, if you're Target, you sell only commodities. What makes you stand apart and people go to Target versus Walmart is your branding. So this is also true for a yarn shop that carries the standard brands like Cascade and Bernat and the basic yarn companies like Malabrigo. Then your branding is what makes you stand out from other yarn companies. So for a shop, the branding, what that entails is how the shop makes you feel when you go into it, which is made up of the customer service, the vibe, the decorating, the lighting, the music that's playing, also the events and activities that they have going on that brings the community in. All of those things communicate the brand of the shop to the customer. Everything from the staff you hire, to the products you highlight, to the way you treat your customers, all of that is going to shape the way a customer feels when they're in your store. And that's going to shape your brand identity. So before we talk any more about this, I want to be really clear about something. In all areas of your business, you're going to be authentic and honest. Just because we're thinking something through and deciding on something strategically doesn't make it inauthentic. I think makers get confused about this because they think, well, if I was going to be authentic, I'll just do what I do. I'll just do whatever comes out. But that's not being strategic, and it doesn't actually lead anybody to understand what you're authentically doing. No amount of thinking strategically should change the way you authentically express your brand and your company. The goal of all effective branding and marketing is to find the brand that flows authentically from who you are, but to be aware and intentional about it. So being intentional about something isn't the same as being like deceitful or lying or hiding or, being weird about it. You want it to flow naturally from what you can naturally do, but just think it through so that it makes sense. Right? So if you are a shop owner and you're grumpy and you don't like customers and you're like, well, I'm just going to be authentic and be myself, your brand is going to be that of a shop that is not fun to go into and people don't enjoy being at. So you're going to lose sales. So if you know that about yourself, you think, how would I want the shop to feel? And then can I hire people and train them and create a shop and a lighting and a window display that communicates all of that? That's what we mean about being aware and intentional. When I used to talk about this, I used to get pushback all the time about marketing. Like, well, if I think and strategize too hard, it's not going to be like myself. I think nowadays people are way more comfortable with knowing that you can think strategically and still be authentic because of social media. We're all doing it. You know that everything you see posted on Facebook, somebody has thought about how it portrays them. Maybe not everything, but a lot of what you see on social media that makes people's lives look wonderful and fun and bright and colorful and well edited, that is all because they put some thought behind it. But it doesn't mean they're lying to you. They're just selectively sharing. That's especially important in your business because people need to understand what your business is and what it does and where it sits in the marketplace. Are you a Target? Are you a Walmart? Are you a Neiman Marcus? If you or a branding expert that you hire try to push a brand that isn't really who you are, it's going to fall apart very quickly. So your brand has to be coming authentically from you and effective and strategic. So an example I thought of as I was thinking about how your brand needs to flow from you is an example of a brand that's really different than mine, and I totally recommend Respect. That's the word I was looking for. A brand I totally respect. So the knitwear designer Frenchie of Aroha Knits, her business has this very beautiful, elegant, styled in natural materials and soft colors. That's her brand. And when she talks in her videos or you see her what she's posting on Instagram, I can feel it's very authentic. It's who she is. But if I tried to pull off that brand, if a brand expert came to me and said, this is what's popular, this is what gets lots of likes, you need to pose your things beautifully with crystals and candles and white wood, that I could never pull that off. I don't have those things in my house, and that would be, I don't have that. Like, it's going to be fake, and it would be so much work for me to try to pull off a brand that wasn't in alignment with who I really am. I cannot be airy and elegant and styled. I just can't. My branding is bright colors and being honest and being my goofy self. And I realized through the years that a lot of that comes across better in video than it does in written, even though I love writing. So I've taken my writing and I turn it into video because that's how I can best communicate with the people who are going to benefit from what I sell. So that's authentically me. And even though that's authentically me, I still have to be strategic and think about it because comparing yourself to others, seeing what's popular on Instagram, thinking you should try to do it yourself, all of those things try to get you off track, try to make you inauthentic, try to make you feel like you should be something other than you are. So we're thinking this through and we're paying attention to what our branding is so that you can stay on track with who you are and the kind of business you want to have. So a few more examples of branding. If you are in a direct selling company like doTERRA Essential Oils, the company brand stands for something already. It stands for ethically sourcing, paying people fairly, pure oils that are tested, and doing a lot of research with other research institutes to back it up with science. But as a seller, you need to build your own brand. That's not with a fancy website or anything. It's through how you treat every customer, through how you share the oils with people, for how you invite them to learn more, for how you educate them when they come to their classes and even after they've purchased. If your brand is aligned with the bigger brand and you stick with authenticity, integrity, and talking about both the science and the sourcing of these oils, you're going to be more successful because that big brand already works, but you need your own way of delivering it and communicating it. Your brand of education and support is going to be what builds trust and creates a community. So even if you're selling something that a lot of other people are selling, like you're a yarn shop or you're selling doTERRA essential oils, you still will have your own brand within that. A yarn dyer is creating her brand through every skein of yarn she sells, the colors she uses, the yarn base she uses, all of it, the patterns that she talks about, the way she sends her emails, the way she styles her photos. So that all impacts her brands, along with the shop she sells her yarn through, or the shows she goes to, or what she focuses on when she talks about her yarn. Does she focus on texture? Does she focus on color? Does she focus on fun? Or does she focus on the community? So those are all different ways to communicate your brand. And as we're talking about this, you're going to think that sounds a lot like marketing. So I want to talk about a few things to remember with branding, and then we'll talk about what marketing is. So the few things to remember with branding is if you're making your thing and putting it out there, you already have a brand. You are already building it, and everything you do builds your brand. You don't have to make one, they occur naturally. Your brand is going to come from your Instagram, your products, the way you write your descriptions, the way you set up your shop. Since you already have a brand, spend a little time thinking about it. The questions I ask in my marketing classes guide you through thinking about it. You can get access to my marketing class, Elevate Your Business, where we talk about Instagram and emails and how you're going to communicate that brand. You get access to that when you join the Starship. And the Starship will open in a couple weeks. You can sign up to learn more about it at taraswiger.com/starshipbiz. So if you already are going to have a brand, spend some time thinking about it. And your branding is most important if you sell commodities, if you sell things that other people sell the exact same things, or if you want to stand out in a really crowded marketplace. The other thing to remember about your brand is to be consistent. It's created through every action you take, so be consistent with your actions. Choose some colors, your tone of voice, and stick with it. With that in mind, though, brands and businesses evolve. I do not do or talk the same way that I did 10 years ago because I'm a different person. You are going to be a different person in 10 years too. So your brand is going to evolve to reflect that. So if you've been in business for a while, you probably just want to look at what your brand is and ask yourself, is it reflecting who I am today, what my business is today, who my customers are today, and how I want them to feel? So marketing is communicating with your customers. It includes your brand. What do people think of when they think of you? And it's an ongoing communication that continues to communicate your brand and those feelings and also the products that you have. Marketing takes what branding is and leads it into sales, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Marketing is everything that creates, keeps, and satisfies your customer. Everything that first reaches out and introduces your stuff to customers, like advertising or doing a collaboration or partnering with somebody, and everything that keeps your customers and satisfies them. It's your packaging and your labels and your shipping. All of it is communicating, right? And your marketing is just the actual action. So branding is the feeling you're creating. Marketing is what you're doing that's creating that feeling. So marketing is everything you're doing in your business. It's putting things on sale. It's doing partnerships with people. It's a photography. It's what you post. It's how you say it. We talk a lot about marketing on this podcast, so I'm not going to go really any more into it because we talked about how to do that effectively in episode 217 and again in marketing. But I'm going to give you some examples about how people confuse marketing with sales after we talk about what sales are. So sales. Sales are how you make money. It's the final step in the relationship. The relationship starts with your marketing reaching out to somebody, and then they get a vibe. If they spend time on your website or they spend time on your Instagram or your shop, they get a feeling. That's the brand, and your marketing keeps communicating that to them. And then you need to lead to make a sale. So sales are where you say, click here to buy this. Here's how you can get this. Would you like to join us? That's making the sale. If you are only doing marketing, just being like, oh, this is beautiful and lovely. Oh, this is available. And you're not closing the sale, you're going to get way fewer sales. So on Instagram, it's something like saying, click in the link in my profile to get yours. In a class, it's saying, now that you've learned how to use these essential oils, here's the best way for you to get them. In a shop, it's saying, oh, great. What would you like to get today? Or are you ready to check out? So you can have the best branding and marketing in the world, but if you don't follow through and you don't focus on sales, you're going to have nothing. It won't matter. This is especially important in the online world. All of your marketing might never be seen until you focus on sales and you get in front of people. So for makers, that includes doing shows, selling to retail shops, doing partnerships that like brings new people for them, and advertising directly to products. So in a retail shop, you are doing a sale to the shop owner, and then the shop owner is closing the sale with many different consumers. And to be honest, I did not spend a lot of time and energy on sales before I started my essential oil business. So I feel like since then, since early 2017, I've been in an intensive training school for sales because doTERRA's brand is perfect. They already have the marketing figured out. Their products are amazing and pure. There's research projects that back them up. They've already created, they've already figured out sourcing, shipping, delivery, the website navigation. In order to share the oils, I have focused not on marketing, which is where I spent most of my time in all my other businesses, or on product creation, which is as a maker what I had to spend all my time on, but in sales. How do I talk about these in a way that clearly communicates the benefit? How do I educate people so they understand how to use them? Because I don't want anybody to buy anything they're not going to use. How do I ask the sales question, would you like to get some today? That is so scary for so many of us. But asking questions, asking yourself about how you can improve your selling is so vital to increasing your overall sales. So asking questions like, do people know this exists? Are you like talking to anyone? What do I need? What does a customer need to understand or know before they're going to be able to buy? And then am I making it clear how to buy? So many people skip this part. So many people skip the part where they actually tell people to buy it. So understanding these questions has made me better at sales in every area of my business. Of course, from the essential oils, but also the Starship and also the book sales. I've gotten better across the board at sales because I really am focusing on, am I even doing sales? And how can I be better at it? And I want to reiterate what I said earlier. You're going to do all of this with authenticity. All of this is going to come from a true and honest place. It's not deceptive. People have such stereotype about sales that they think you have to leave your integrity behind in order to make a sale. But girl, if you had your integrity intact when you made the product, when you listed the product, when you thought about how to talk about the product, then when you ask somebody, so would you like to get one today? It's all from integrity. You know it's a great product. You love it. You use it. You believe in it. You think it's valuable. You've priced it accordingly. Making the sale has to be in integrity too. Sales is a natural outgrowth of your brand and your marketing. If you make it not a natural outgrowth, if you get weird about it, you're going to be really bad at it. So as I said before, just because you're thinking about it and getting better at it doesn't make it inauthentic. Just because we talk about getting better at sales doesn't mean you're going to suddenly become a slimy person. If you feel like it does, if you feel like selling takes you out of your integrity, or you're thinking, I don't want to do sales, then I got to be honest, honey, you do not want a business. A business is a sales. A business survives on sales. You got to get clear on that, and you've got to get aligned. You've got to think about, how can I share this in a way that will feel valuable both to the person who's buying it and will properly pay me for the work and effort I've put into it, or you don't have a business. So I want to talk about some ways that people get confused about which of these three they need to work on. So if you've started an online shop and you haven't gotten any sales or traffic, my number one piece of advice, and I've said this in past videos, is that you focus on making sales before you worry about anything else. Don't try to get 1 million Instagram followers. Go make sales. Get your products in front of people. Go to a craft show. Go to the local farmers market. Approach local shops or galleries. Get in front of people who are buying what you sell. Spend all of your time on sales. And in between, postings on Instagram, or start your email list, or add things to your online shop. But I see a lot of makers do the opposite. They spend hours and hours and hours on their Instagram or on their online shop, and they never get their product in front of anyone. That takes much longer to turn into sales. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying it takes months and months and months to build up an audience who then trust you enough and know you enough to buy from you. It's much easier for them to see it in person, try it on, like it, buy it, walk away. So I've seen so many makers do this. They focus all their energy on just creating an audience online, and then people don't buy what they sell. And after 2 or 6 or 12 months of no sales, they stop their business and they say, people didn't want what I sold, or people weren't willing to pay what I was charging. That's not what happened. It's that people didn't know that you sold what you sold. People didn't know you charged what you charged. You didn't get it in front of people. The social media world has confused us by thinking that a big following equals a steady business, because you see people who both have a big following and a big business, but those things don't always correlate one-to-one. Steady sales always correlates with a steady business if your profitability is set up right. So if you've got a big social media following, if you already have one, you can absolutely start a business and start making sales. Like, that's great. If you already have that following, absolutely start your business and offer them what you have. But my friends and students who have done this, and I have a couple friends and students who had big audiences and then they offered something, they're shocked by how small a percentage of their in love with them audience actually purchased the thing they sold. So if you're making some sales and you're getting real customer feedback, you can absolutely build an online following. Like, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying focus first on sales. Your marketing and everything will get better and better and better as you have more sales, as you get more feedback, as you have more conversations with people. Because you got to realize that a small following that actually buys from you is a million times better than a big audience that doesn't buy from you. So if they're going to take the same amount of time to either do sales or do audience building, why would you not do sales? Because that's how your business is going to survive. So I'm pretty passionate about this topic. I talk about it a lot when I talk about marketing. I've mentioned it many times on this podcast because I've seen so many business owners spin their wheels online instead of going out there and making sales. And I feel like I am an example of how that you can focus on sales, focus on creating a great product, sharing it with people, and having a profitable business without having to have a million people follow you. So if you check me out on Instagram, I do not have a big audience. This podcast is not in the top 10 or even 50 or 100 on iTunes. I don't even have 5,000 email subscribers. And yet I have 2 businesses that earn over 6 figures a year. And I do that not by having a big audience, but by talking to the people who are following me and creating for them what they need, and effectively communicating via my marketing and just via communications, and making sure that I offer what I sell regularly to the people who are going to want it. So the reason that people focus more on marketing than on sales is totally understandable. And it's the reason I focused on my marketing instead of sales for years. And that's because sales is scary. You can be rejected. When you're doing your marketing, you're just putting it out there. People can either opt in or not opt in. And, it just feels much less risky to just be like, oh, this thing was in my shop. And just post that and kind of walk away, right? It's much harder, much more risky to go up to someone and say, would you like to buy this, yes or no? When you focus on sales, you're giving people the opportunity to say yes or say no. And we're afraid of hearing no. We're afraid it's going to hurt us when we hear no. But my mentor told me something when I just was a few months into my doTERRA business. She said, honey, you have to get a lot more comfortable being rejected. She was right. Also, ouch. I don't want to get more comfortable being rejected. That just hurts. But it's true. The more comfortable you get with rejection, and I've done a podcast episode about rejection, the better your business is going to be. The more your business is going to grow. So, if you've listened to this, you're like, I don't know what I need to work on. I've got a couple pointers for you. One, almost always you can spend more time on sales. Spend more time making direct calls to action that invite people to take action to buy your thing. Have direct, real communications with people, asking them to buy your thing. Show up where you can sell your thing. The second point is if you've been building piecemeal over the last few years, like I have, I just keep adding things to my business and creating new things and it's just like growing all the time. Take a step back and look at your branding. Does your site and Instagram and tone match your current products? Not who you used to be or what you used to do, but does it match today? And does it all make sense? What are you communicating through this? You might need to ask some friends or some strangers to give you some feedback on what your site, your Instagram, your products, your shop is communicating, how it makes them feel. And the other question for your friends is if you threw your product and your tag in a pile with others that are similar, would they know which is yours? Does it communicate what your brand is about? It may be time to rethink what you want your brand to be and what you want to be communicating and how you want to make people feel, and if you're really communicating that. Every 2-ish years of your business, stop and look. What am I doing? How am I communicating? Is it clear? I mean, I've had people tell me like it's not clear what I do because I've just been building over the years, just giving people what they ask for. So my sales are great, but my branding might not be great. Now, I had a professional create my branding like 4 years ago, I think now, and I love it, like the visuals of it. But yeah, I need to clear up my website, take down some stuff, change some links, rewrite my bio, like do some things to change my overall, so that my website actually matches where I think my branding is strongest, which is on my Instagram. But it's only strong there because I've worked on it, because I've thought about it. So it's okay if you have areas in your business you need to work on, just make a note to go back and work on them when your sales are slow. Number 3, everything is marketing. If you're posting anywhere online regularly, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or email list, if you're updating your shop, if you're putting labels on your products and shipping it out, you are marketing. Like we talked about in episode 217, you want to focus that on your right people and on communicating clearly, but you're already doing it, honey. So you just need to focus on doing it either more consistently or more clearly, but you're already doing it. It's not something different unless you're just not sharing your thing online or in person at all, in which case go back to focus on sales. So if you would like to work on all 3 and get my feedback on your branding, marketing, and sales, you can do that aboard the Starship. That's where I give people feedback and answer their questions. It opens in a few weeks, so you can learn more about it by signing up, and you're going to get a couple messages over the course of a week where you'll meet other Starship captains. You'll hear what's aboard the Starship. You can either sign up at the bottom of today's show notes, which are at taraswiger.com/podcast219, or you can go to taraswiger.com/starshipbiz and sign up right there. If you have any questions about it, just ask on the contact page on my site or in the comments on my Instagram post. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm wishing you a sales-filled, enthusiastic day.